Good morning and welcome to Bellingham Unitarian Fellowship. I'm Reverend Paul Beckel, and this is our music director, Kevin Allen Schmid.
wagene mchungaji Paul Beckle na mimi kiongozi ya muziki Kevin Ellington.
Let's begin today with an acknowledgement that this is the traditional territory of the Coast Salish peoples, whose ancestors have resided here since time immemorial. We are grateful to live in this place with them, where many still live, resurgent, thriving, and strong.
Tunaanza leo kwa kukiri. Is this mic on? Not on yet?
Here we go.
Tunaanza leo kwa kukiri kwamba hii ni ardhi ndio ya watu wa Salish wa pwani ambao mababu zao wameishi hapa tangu zama za kale. Watu wengi wa kiasili wanaishi hapa mahali, waliofufuka, wanaositawi na wenye nguvu.
In our service today, Kevin will be sharing two views of Tanzania and Tanzanians today. In the first section, he'll introduce some people that he loves in Tanzania. And in the second section, he'll be sharing his observations of the American Lutheran missionary legacy in Tanzania, to which we are interestingly connected through BUF member Carl Nyblade.
Nitasilisha ibada yetu akipa mitazamo miwili ya Tanzania na Watanzania. Kwanza nitatambulisha kwa baadhi ya watu wanaopenda nchini Tanzania. Kwa pili nitachangia maoni yangu kuhusu uwiti wa mishonari wa kanisa la Kiluteri la Marekani katika Tanzania, ambao tumeunganishwa kwa njia ya kupita mshiriki wa BUFster Carl Nyblade. So now we're going to sing a song in Swahili, since you got some Swahili in your ear. And we chose this because it's in our hymn book. So let's have a look. 1030 in the Teal hymn book. Oops, that's the wrong number. It's Bwana Awa Bariki. 1033. We have quite a few African songs in our hymn books, but mostly they're from South Africa and Zulu. This one is actually in Swahili. And Swahili has Arabic roots. So the word Barak, as in Barack Obama, is Arabic. It means blessing. Arabic and Hebrew are related. Baruch, Ata Adonai, blessings of God. So Baruch and Barak both mean blessing. And you'll see in this hymn, Bwana awabariki, the barik, that's that root of blessing. It says, Lord, bless us, or may God grant you a blessing is the translation it's giving us. We have the key. This is how the melody goes. Bwana awabariki, Bwana awabariki, Bwana awabariki milele. So it's 1033 in your hymn book, or the words are up there. Here we go. Bwana awabariki, Bwana awabariki, Bwana awabariki milele. Then there's this little call and response thing. I'll sing, Ukimcha Bwana, and you repeat, Bwana awabariki, Ukimcha Bwana, Bwana awabariki. We love Carl Nyblade, Bwana awabariki. We thank our people, Bwana awabariki. Andrea's playing, Bwana awabariki. And we are singing, Bwana, the whole thing. Bwana awabariki, Bwana awabariki, Bwana awabariki milele. Nzuri sana. You did well. You actually know some Swahili already. Hakuna Matata. It means, see, you already know it. And if you go on safari, you're going on a safari. And speaking of that, we have a children's story about the safari, but first, let's bring up Alan Friedlob for Chalice reading.
Good morning. In 1959, a visionary young leader, Julius Nyerere, known by the Swahili name Walimu, or teacher, made a commitment on behalf of his people who had not yet reclaimed their own country from colonial rule. We, the people of Tanganyika, would like to light a candle and put it on the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, which would shine beyond our borders, giving hope where there was despair, love where there was hate, and dignity where there was before only humiliation. Now called the Uhuru Torch, this light serves as a national symbol in Tanzania, depicting freedom, equality, integrity, respect for human dignity, peace, and hope. It illuminates the nation by saying no to poverty, inequality, illiteracy, disease, and conflict. Now let us light our chalice and recite our covenant, reflecting on Walimu's vision of creating and sustaining beloved community. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service gives it life, celebrating our diversity and joined by a quest for truth. We work for peace and honor all creation. This is our covenant.
Asante sana, squash banana. You got that from the Lion King? He says asante sana, and then everybody repeats squash banana, just because it rhymes. Asante sana, thank you very much. So hi kids, we've got a story from Tanzania. We all went on safari. I think I'll hold it. There we go. We all went on safari, and it's a counting story. So you get to count. You count in English, I'll count in Swahili, okay? We all went on safari when the day had just begun. We spied a lonely leopard. Arusha counted one. So see the leopard? One. And we'd say, moja. We all went on safari over grasslands damp with dew. We came across some ostriches, and Mosi counted two. Let's count them. 1, 2. Moja mbili. Ja mbili. We all went on safari past an old acacia tree. Nearby, giraffes were grazing, so Tumpe counted 3. 1, 2, 3. Moja mbili tatu. We all went on safari to the ancient crater floor. We heard some lordly lions. Mwambe counted 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Moja mbili tatu nne. And my tie is from Tanzania. It has a lion on it. This mic is a little hot. Can you turn it down just a bit? This lion is representing Tanzania national parks. If you want to get a closer look later, it's my favorite Tanzanian tie. We all went on safari where the lake birds swim and dive. Up bobbed some hefty hippos. Akela counted 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Moja mbili tatu nne tano. We're learning to count in Swahili. We all went on safari among herds that intermix. We followed woolly wildebeests. Watende counted 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Moja, mbili, tatu, nne, tano, sita. We all went on safari with the sun high in the heaven. We spotted zigzag zebras. Zalira counted 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Moja, mbili, tatu, nne, tano, sita, saba. And saba, interestingly enough, from Arabic, is the root of the word Sabbath. We all went on safari near the Serengeti Gate. We startled wiry warthogs. Suhuba counted 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Moja, mbili, tatu, nne, tano, sita, saba, nane. We all went on safari where the treetops intertwine. We met mischievous monkeys, so Doto counted 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Moja, mbili, tatu, nne, tano, sita, saba, nane, tisa. My brothers and sister and I, we learned to count to 10 when we were kids, and we lived in Tanzania, and that was our greatest pride for the rest of our lives. We can count to 10 in Swahili, fast. We all went on safari through a rocky hillside glen. We watched enormous elephants, and Bodru counted 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Can you advance the slide to the one where the Swahili numbers are? Just go on a little further. Oh, it was taken out. Moja, mbili, tatu, nne, tano, sita, saba, nane, tisa, kumi. Hongera, you counted to 10. And now let's sing the kids out with our song we all know by heart, Siyahamba. And let's stand. Of God, we are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God. Very, very, very good. Nzuri sana, have a seat. Thank you. So, Jeannie and I, she was just here taking the kids out. We went to Tanzania when we were first married and lived there 4 years in Moshi on the slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro from 85 to 89. I had lived in Tanzania as a child in first and second grade when my parents took their 5 children there, and my father worked in agricultural development. And then Jeannie and I went back for another year in Tanzania 10 years ago. And this time we lived on Mount Meru in Arusha and taught at a Greek, formerly Greek, international school. So I have lived in Tanzania 7 years, and each time I tried to improve my Swahili. So today is really an excuse for me to show off some Swahili, to give a slideshow, but to honor my friend Carl Nyblade. Because the first thing I learned about BUF when I came to interview for this job 9 years ago was that Carl is a cousin of my friend Andy Nyblade, who I taught with, Jeannie and I taught with in Tanzania. So we've really relished this connection, the Nyblade connection, all this time. First slideshow is people I love. The guy on his knees, Urio, he's going to be one of the people I tell you about that I love, that I spent time with. These people come from 40 years back, from 10 years back, and from this latest trip from this summer. The kids in the sweaters are from a school that was started by Lutheran missionaries, so their education is a legacy of those Lutheran missionaries. So we can talk about both of those things. I went to Tanzania because Gina went to Italy with her sisters, and I had to do something. So I asked my brother Jim, who many of you know, let's go to Tanzania. So he said, sure. And he wanted to climb the mountain and go to Serengeti and all that. I said, no, no, no. I want to go stay with my friends, sit tight, speak Swahili, eat food, and just chill. So we tried to do both of those things. That's Jim. Next. So these are the first friends. They met us at the airport. This couple, At and Habi, are friends from 40 years ago. Habi was teaching at the international school, and we've kept up with them. They visited us here in Bellingham, also in Montana. They are retired now in Tanzania, and Habi is the president of the local Rotary Club. And she is posing in a little outdoor frame with Mount Kili behind her. At had many different jobs. They're mostly in development, but he's a mechanic for sure. And they came to Nampa, Idaho, and bought a Kit Fox airplane that he took in boxes back to Tanzania and assembled. And now he gives people like me rides around Kilimanjaro so we can see the neighborhood. They have a comfortable, small, humble house. This is their veranda, and Jim and I stayed with them for a week. And their Swahili is as good as their Dutch, as their English, as their German. They have children in South Africa and in the Netherlands, so they said, let's just retire in the middle, and this is where they're most comfortable. Anyway, they're white expatriates, but they love Tanzania the most, and so that's where they're living out their days. They have a nice piano in the library, so it's fun to be there. They they took us on a hike. We went to this waterfall on the slopes of Kilimanjaro. It's covered with forest and farms. And a couple kids with us that Ata and Habi support in their education and their training. There we are at the base of the waterfall. You can see that Habi will take on the world. And she's that kind of Dutch forthright woman that just tells you what she thinks, and it's wonderful. They support an orphanage, or it's a school for street kids, really, who can live there and get their meals and their education. That's the matron, and Habi Nat took Jim and me on a tour there, and we met her and the kids, and it was a happy place. And they're entirely funded by the money that At and Habi raise internationally and bring to them. That's what we find, is that a lot of people who have had their careers in Tanzania, they continue to support projects there. Next person I want to tell you who I love is Simon Mtui. He's dad there in the bottom of the boat. He is a world-class athlete, and he met his wife Tara, who's from New York. She's a research doctor at the Kilimanjaro Christian Medical Center. And so they're raising two teenage boys, Ari and Aiden. They go to the international school that Jeannie and I taught at. And I was able to stay at their house for a week with them. Simon is, as I said, an athlete, and he holds the world record for running from the bottom of Mount Kilimanjaro to the top and back, unsupported. No support, nobody handing him food or showing him the way or helping him along, in 9 hours, up 20,000 feet and down again. So he's right up there with the top 10 athletes of the planet. And it's such a pleasure and privilege for me to get to know him and his family. There he is running in the moorland zone. Kilimanjaro really goes from the jungle to the alpine desert. Next. There's a map of his route. Next. Jim there with Simon in his office. There's a note from President Obama behind his head there saying congratulations. Next. Here's a little video. I asked, before I got there, I was corresponding with Simon, says, can we run together? Because I was following his runs on Strava. And he said, sure, as soon as you get here. And by the way, when you come, can you bring me some stuff? And so I brought him a shopping bag, and we went like wildfire. Here we are running. No, it's a video. That's a video that should play with sound. But you didn't hear anything. There should be sound. Okay, never mind. I just said go, and then you saw him run, and if he would go as slowly as he could, and I would go as fast as I could, we could stay together. Yeah, and he is most proud of his farming. He's a permaculture organic farmer and grows all the food that he supplies to the climbing and safari expeditions that he operates as his business. He grows all the food and the coffee, and I was able to tour their estate, and he's serving me coffee that he grew himself. Next friend, Ellie Nkya, she's a Chaga. The Chaga people live on Kilimanjaro. In the country, there are over 100 tribes. None of them are dominant. That's one reason for the peacefulness of Tanzania. No one tribe could lord it over the others. But the tribe which live around Mount Kilimanjaro, the Chaga, are very famous for their industry and achievements. And this woman is world known because she helped develop the International Baccalaureate Science curriculum, and she traveled around the world teaching teachers how to teach it. So we taught with her 40 years ago, and we keep in touch with her, and we've seen her each time we go. And that's her beautiful garden. She's retired now. And we used to teach at what was called the International School of Moshi. Now it's called United World College of East Africa. And that school takes kids from all over the planet, especially on scholarship from countries and places where people wouldn't be able to come to such a school. These students are from two countries, Sudan and South Sudan. They happen to be at war with each other. And war is happily going on in their home places. The kid on the left, Sage, he saw his parents shot before his eyes. And he ran until he reached some camp in Kenya, and somehow he ended up at this school. We're in the dining hall there, and you see on the back wall the mission of the school. And it is United World College East Africa makes education a force to unite people, nations, and cultures for peace and a sustainable future. We are committed to developing balanced global citizens who are empowered to act responsibly in a complex world. And they are succeeding. Students that we taught 40 years ago are now in positions of leadership, and they are succeeding with this mission. This is the music room where I was the music teacher in the 80s, revisiting it. And one of my objectives in going to Tanzania last summer was to present a meeting to the Kilimanjaro Mountain Club. I was the president of the Mountain Club back when, and they continue to meet. And I said, okay, while I'm there, can we have a meeting? And let's review the musical play, Kilimanjaro, that I wrote in 1986. And let's call back together the cast that are around, have a little reunion of the musical play cast, sing some of the songs. So this picture shows you the king of the Chaga wearing the leopard skins, colobus monkey hat, his warrior bodyguard, and his Swahili advisor from the coast in the white robe. His name is Peter Sangawa. He was a math teacher at the school, the guy in the white robe. And this next picture, my clicker's not working. Peter and his wife Trudy live next to the school. He's retired now, but we knew him 40 years ago. This play was cast with teachers, workers, students, and expatriate parents and so forth. So the parts that needed to be covered were all enacted by people of the correct demographic. Here's Peter in his little shamba, his farm. He's showing his coffee, which is shaded by banana trees, and those are both moneymakers for the Chaga people. Another scene from the play, the slave trader Bwana Heri on the left, played by Eric and Mario. and his retinue of porters. In our play, the porters were played by carpenters, guards, drivers, painters like that. Two of them, Michael and Sebastian, they came to this meeting, they sang all the songs, they remember all the words from 40 years ago of their little porter song, you know, and we went around to check out some things around the country and had a nice reunion. Bwana Kheri, at that time, very young, was a startup lawyer, and he was played by my friend Eric and Mario. There's Eric at dinner. He's had a very successful career as a lawyer. And yeah, keep your eye on my snapper here. Here, this is a video of Eric giving a tongue twister. Hopefully it'll work. You can see his tongue right there. So it's a little tongue twister about my brother, my brother-in-law, and words that sound like the word brother in Swahili. Yeah, so he's a wordsmith, but as I said, successful lawyer and has this beautiful house and swimming pool on Mount Meru near Arusha, where I was able to stay for a week. While I was there, the ex-president of Tanzania, Kikwete, was taking the current president to task for selling off the rights of the Dar es Salaam port to the Arabs and not allowing sufficient debate in parliament. And so then the current president was trying to shut him down. But the ex-president, who's now a member of parliament, wasn't to be cowed and asked Eric to represent him in court. So I had to cut my visit short with Eric because he was going to represent the ex-president in a case in court against the current president. So that's the level of law that he's doing in the country. Here's a family. Randy Stubbs is from Ohio. He's a Lutheran musician, church music director, organist, and he and his American wife went to Tanzania 20 years ago. The two older girls were their children that they raised there. His wife unfortunately died in a car crash about 8 years ago. And then Randy remarried Faith there, and they have 3 more children, so this is mixed family. He is one of these missionaries who's devoting his life there, and probably his retirement too, because he married a Tanzanian. He helped bring an organ to the Makumira University, and he has spearheaded a project where they've created a new hymnal, all in Swahili, and not only with the printed music and words, but with recordings so that churches out in the bush and anywhere can learn these hymns by, YouTube videos to update their repertoire. Go ahead. Eric Roberg, E-R-I-K. Two people I love in Tanzania are called Eric. This is with a K. He grew up in Spokane, went to PLU. I know him from Pacific Lutheran. His father was a doctor, and when he was a kid, he and his family went to Tanzania several times. So he lived several years as a child when his father was a doctor there. And like many people, myself included, who spent childhood years in Tanzania, always wanted to go back. And as soon as he graduated from PLU, he did move to Tanzania in 1981, and he hasn't come back since. He married a Tanzanian woman, Bernice, and that's their daughter, Shesha. When Jean and I were there 10 years ago, we were able to have Shesha in our classroom at the Greek school because years had passed, and we really reconnected with Eric and Bernice. Bernice is retired now, but she was the director of World Vision Tanzania, so she funded a lot of money and projects to that work. You could say that there's a tribe, a mixed race tribe. These 3 men in the picture, Eric with his back to us, he's American. The guy sitting down is German. The guy standing up is Clive, he's British. They all married Tanzanian women. Those are their kids and friends. And they had a big party there. And it's just a mix of English, German, Swahili, all night long. Bernice is very active in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. That's how her father was a minister. And this is a scene, she took me to Sunday school and they're singing a little song with the kids. She says, okay, Mojambili Tatu. She says, 1, 2, 3, and then they started singing. That you can see the classroom was unfinished. That's the way a lot of buildings are in Tanzania. You build it as you go, and as soon as they get some more money, they'll put in a floor and windows. So in the church following the Sunday school, here's the choir that was singing that day for the Seventh-day Adventist service. Go ahead. So you hear the 4-part harmony. That's just standard. People learn these hymns by rote, and then they sing them nice and strong. This was a modern church, and they had words projected on the screen, and you'll recognize this tune. Msifu Mungu wa neema, enyi viumbe popote, wajuu pia sifuni. Baba, Mwana, naye Roho. We praise God, and at the end it says Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the doxology. That's a Seventh-day Adventist service. So Bernice and Eric's daughter, Shesha, she is working for a company called Red Knot Agency and One World, and they set up events, and they also support some development projects in agriculture and in children's activities. So her job is sitting at the computer all day, and this is a screenshot from Red Knot's website. They organize races, foot races, bicycle races, trips around the marvels of Tanzania. The foreigners who come pay thousands of dollars, and they always have 50% of the participants are local Tanzanians, and they pay $50. And so it's kind of a project siphoning off the proceeds from the foreigners that you get to then have some time in nature with Tanzanians. It's really fun. I'd love to do all these activities that Shesha is organizing and sending out emails all the time. Support children's running clubs. So you would pay thousands of dollars, they'd pick you up at the airport, you go run around Mount Kilimanjaro, and then they take a percentage of that, and they are supporting running clubs with local kids, so that it's not just an elite white thing that people come to Tanzania to enjoy, but it's for everybody. Shesha's father, Eric, he's an athlete. He likes to ride his bicycle in the bush, and so he's got it all decked out with his own homemade gear for sleeping and camping. And I was going to travel, I was going to go on a ride with him and my brother Jim for a week through Maasai land, sleep there. And here's what actually happened. I met them on the road. There's Eric and Jim coming up with their heavy bikes. They had to change about 10 punctures by this time because you're just going through thorns. In the background, you see the mountain Oldonyo Lengai, which means the mountain of God, which is a landmark in Maasai land. And it's about 10,000 feet high, and it's usually belching smoke. You don't see the smoke in this picture, and that's not snow, that's soda ash up in the corner. So here's a video of how I got around while they were biking. I promised no pictures of animals, but there are some zebras. So that's my friend Paolo, and I was riding on the back of the motorcycle. That's how I got around while my brother was on the bicycle. Paolo is Maasai, and he is a Lutheran evangelist. He's been trained in a seminary, and so he works for the church, but he also takes side jobs like driving tourists around. And see, I had crashed on the bicycle with my brother Jim and broken my arm. And so I wasn't doing any bike riding, but I could sit on the back of a motorcycle and hold on with my left hand. Paolo is a choir director. That's his choir. They have choir competitions in Maasai region with the Lutheran churches there. There's another choir wearing a different set of bling and outfits in the far back. But they came back from their choir contest the day that I arrived, and I heard them singing and ululating from the back of the pickup because they had won the contest. And this is the town where he lives. It's called Kitumbeni, and I'm wandering around the town meeting people. Here's some kids at the school. Habari za jioni. Napenda wakuona. Hamjambo. It's easy to be very popular very fast. Get mobbed by kids. Go on. In this town, Dr. Steve, he's known as Dr. Steve, and his wife Bethany have been living for 15 years, will spend the rest of their career there. American Lutheran missionaries. He's a doctor, and she works with women's development. Those, their 3 children are now all in college in the States, so this picture is about 10 years old. They raise their kids there, and they would find Tanzanian kids like this and help them go to seminary and get some training like Paolo. So I'm just showing that their mission is to go and live there and spend their lives there and offer their service. Sylvia Emanuel she carries a British passport, but she was born in Tanzania, has lived there her whole life except for going to college. She married a Greek planter, and they survived all of nationalization and so forth until he passed a few years ago. And she is still living in the house that they put together. Her husband, Nick, was the president of the Kilimanjaro Mountain Club, and I took over from him. That's how I know him from 40 years back. He was a real, like Rudyard Kipling type, climbing mountains, fording rivers, leading club activities, and opening up farms, sisal farms and coffee farms. Sylvie showed me a photograph of his parents, Greek settlers in the early 1900s, coming into the country with steam tractors to develop farms. There were lots of Greeks in the country in the colonial days. There are hardly any left. Sylvie has this lovely house, and there's Ellie, another friend, and she had us for lunch, and we enjoyed stories of the old days. This is Sylvie's garden. Urio is a gardener. He doesn't work for Sylvie, he works for Eric and Mario, but when I stayed with Eric for a week, I went running with Urio every day. I was recovered sufficiently I could run with my arm in a sling. And he showed me around. Here's a little video of us running in Makamira Creek. Urio! Umefika?
Nimefika na kurudi.
Toka msitu na mtoni. Safi kabisa, inapendeza.
Asante sana.
So I said, hey, Urio, you came out of the forest and the mountain. And so this is Makamira Creek. It runs beside Makamira University. And I asked him, can we just run up to the mountain, because in Arusha there, the Mount Meru is also a national park, and the border of the park, you can see in the distance, if you go back a slide, you can see that the agriculture goes right up to the park border, and then the jungle trees go straight from there. This population is so, the pressure is so tight that there's no buffer zone. It's farm, and then it's park. And so we ran up some miles, and as we came back, we met this group of students from Makamira Primary. So we sat and talked to them for a while. I'm wearing the colors of the Tanzanian flag, green, blue, and gold. And that is the end of this first section. I showed you about 10 people that I love in Tanzania. There's some notes on each of them in your order of service. But I'm going to invite the Phoenix Ensemble to come up now, and we're going to sing a couple songs from South Africa. These are in Zulu and English. They're from the apartheid era, so they're songs of protest and praise. You'll notice they're both political freedom songs and religious praise songs together. I'll talk a bit more about that later. The first one we're going to do, Spamandla Nkosi. It's in your hymn book, but we're just going to sing it for you. It's God Give Us Power. Amandla, maybe you've seen in certain movies. Amandla. It means power. Power in Zulu. God give us power. Yeah, can I have lights?
Robben Island, we shall never sorrow. Power to the people. He's locked up, sent to Robben Island, we shall never sorrow. Power to the people.
Speak out loud.
Speak out loud. Speak out, Winnie. Speak out to the people. Freedom to our land.
Speak out loud.
Speak out loud. Speak out, Winnie. Speak out to the people. Freedom to our land.
So I'll be talking about the Lutheran legacy in Tanzania, so obviously I'll be talking about religion and politics. Those songs, the South African people in fighting apartheid, they were fighting a Christian government, the Boers, the Dutch Reformed Church. They used their religion to justify their apartheid system. So you can't say that Christianity is all bad or all good. It was Christianity being used to fight a different kind of Christianity in politics and so forth. And it's fun to see the African mindset that it's freedom and Jesus are both coming at the same time. It's hard to distinguish them. If you believe in Jesus, then when Jesus comes, you'll get your freedom. And the concepts are powerful and kind of, they overlap a little bit. And I'm going to talk about Lutheran missionaries. You're going to hear people talk about serving their Lord Jesus Christ, their Savior. So I'm just giving a little trigger warning. Unitarians. There are people that serve the world through their religious motivation. They have a religious calling and have religious beliefs that support them in their service to the world, and not to dismiss what they have accomplished because we don't embrace their particular religious point of view. You know, these South Africans fighting apartheid, they were using their Christianity to give themselves hope for a better world. Nelson Mandela said, "Those who say that Christianity has nothing to do with politics don't have a clue what Christianity is all about." And I think we can learn a little from that in the States. We get all bungled up with our trying to keep our church and our politics separate, but in Africa they have a way. We're going to hear about that a little bit. So there's the continent. Next, there's the next slide shows you the country of Tanzania, and next shows you northern Tanzania, where the two mountains are that I've been showing you pictures. Mount Meru on the left, Mount Kilimanjaro on the right. They stick up out of the plains, catch the rain. They're beautiful places to live, and way back in the 1800s, the Germans, when they were colonial powers there, started Lutheran and Catholic churches all over these mountains, which thrive today. So it goes back over 100 years. This is Mount Meru near Arusha. It's only 15,000 feet high, higher than Mount Rainier. But it's dwarfed by Kilimanjaro, about 20,000, just 50 miles away across the plain. You can see one mountain from the other. And this is where the missions went first, because it was healthy and beautiful. This is a church in Machame on Kilimanjaro. There's my friend Ellie. She was born and baptized in this church in Machame. Her grandfather was a minister, one of the first African ministers of that Lutheran church. That was, the foundation of that building was laid in 1893. And this plaque commemorates a 100-year anniversary in 1993. So that's 130 years ago. They've been Christians longer than most of us. This is Dr. Steve again, and his wife Bethany. Steve's sister lives in Blaine. I don't think she's here. Are you here, Margaret? I invited them, but they had been traveling. Steve and his sister Margaret, who live in Blaine, Lutheran missionary kids. Their father was the main founder of Makumira University, which we're going to focus on. And so Steve grew up in the country, like several of the other people I've shown you, and then he went to get his training as a medical doctor and returned to Kitumbeni, that village with the Maasai choir, where he runs a clinic for women and children. And they invite and welcome visitors. Let's go on to the next one. That's the clinic for mothers and babies there. This next one is a video. His wife Bethany it's a video on YouTube.
I've always had a strong feeling that all Christians are missionaries. I'm always struck by how wonderful it is when people have committed their life to the Lord and are praying, Lord Jesus, show me how to live out my Christianity today. That's what a missionary is.
My father was a Lutheran pastor and my mom was a nurse in a mission hospital over here when I was growing up. So Africa and Lutheranism are very much part of my identity.
Overall, if you have a sense of, we are fortunate to be here, we are guests of the church. God has given us this chance to be here. What a privilege.
What's been really, really valuable for me is to work with a dozen Tanzanian colleagues and to have worked with them long term and sort of to have solved problems and face challenges with a group of Tanzanians rather than being an individual and trying to solve problems alone. And we're in the process of training 12 young Maasai who understand the culture and don't see the local environment, harsh as it is, as a disadvantage.
I just wanted to be a doctor, not because of it's a good job or just...
So this 4-minute video, and I'm looking at the clock. It's really fun to watch, to see. These are just one of a handful of white American Lutheran missionaries that are still in the country working as missionaries through their religious belief and supported by their church. Although they're the generations of missionary kids and grandkids that flock back to Tanzania often don't even believe in God. So with the generations, they kind of have this history and this service in common. And that's Greg Mortensen. He wrote the book 3 Cups of Tea. He's a friend of Gina's and mine, lives in Bozeman, Montana. He came to our school in Kalispell many times talking about his books and his project, building schools. His father administered the hospital, that KCMC, and his mother started the school that became the international school where we taught. So they were Lutheran missionaries sent to Tanzania. And he grew up there, he went to the school, and now he's building schools in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Tajikistan. This is a current picture off the web of that school. You can see it's a rainbow of colors, of languages and cultures and religions. Go on. 80 years ago, when Jean and I arrived, there's a staff picture. The school is much smaller. Jean is kind of in the back, I'm in the front row. Right in the middle in the Michigan t-shirt is Andy Nyblade. He just graduated from college as a teacher and was there to teach science. And that's where I met the first Nyblade. And he and I went around, helping him do his master's research project. He has since got his doctorate and has been teaching at Penn State. And his big project is to bring Africans to Penn State, or also taking courses to Africa, where they train Africans in the sciences, in the technical fields, so that they can operate their own multinational companies. The extraction industries aren't just foreigners coming in and foreigners getting all the profit, but the Africans can decide how they want to mine and drill and develop. And so Andy, even though he's not a missionary himself, he is continuing that work of service. That's Andy's parents, June and Orville. It's Carl's uncle and aunt at their 50th anniversary. And June she worked with women and children. Also, she had a clinic and served thousands of needy young mothers. Here's a little testimonial to Orville, because, you know, I went there this last summer and I thought, I'm going to find some people that remember the Nyblades and video them talking and then come back and show it to Carl and Pete. So here's Sylvie, you met her, and she's remembering Orville Nyblade. Can you tell us about Orville and June Nyblade?
Well, I knew Orville because his relationship with the international school. He was chairman of the boards of some years, an extremely good one. And I shall never forget, especially when I was removed from the board, and the letters that Orville wrote to me afterwards, thanking me for what I'd done there. And he, as well, of course, with his children, Laura, their youngest, got malaria here when she was at school.
So Orville was on the board of the school, the international school, but he also was one of the founders of the university in the other direction, Makamira University. Here's some fellows from the play, my friends from way back. We went over to visit the university that Orville helped start. And it's a beautiful facility. It's a beautiful website. You can Google it and see they offer all kinds of degree programs. And they are on the grounds of a former coffee estate. That's a Google map. From above, my friend Eric and Mario lived in the upper left corner, just coincidentally, so I could go by foot and explore all the grounds of that estate through the campus and the various schools around. This is a map of where I went on foot using my app on my phone with Rio. I found the chancellor of the university, Parsalau, and he was thrilled to meet someone to talk to about Orville Nyblade. Play. It's a video, so hit play.
Nyblade was my principal when I was a student. I started here in 1981.
1981.
Yeah, and my identity card bears his signature.
Oh,
so
Orville Nyblade.
Orville Nyblade.
He was the principal.
And I once asked him, Nyblade, what does it mean? He says, it's a new blade.
Yes.
He told me.
Yes.
The new blade. And Nyblade actually was a very, very good teacher and philosopher. He was also among the best teachers who taught us logic. He taught us logic. You don't simply say, this is not true, because you just want to say so. But you give reasons why not true. You see? Or you cannot simply generalize everything and say, Germans are bad. No, say why. You must have two premises, which leads you to a valid conclusion. That was Nyblade. Before you talk, you think first, how am I going to address this issue? Yes. Yes. And in terms of discussion, if you bring something to Nyblade, which is very new, he will say, okay, tutashauriana, and we will. Nyblade was my principal when I was a student. I started here in
So I'm just looking at Carl and Grace and Alex and Beth, this Nyblade legacy. Here's a photo from back in the day when he was the professor, Carl's uncle, teaching that young fella, who's now the chancellor of the university. So at the university, they have a beautiful cultural arts center, which was established by Randy Stubbs, the fella there with the microphone. That's an overview with a hall and practice rooms and library. The performance hall is this gorgeous thing. I'm not going to show the videos. We're going to speed up a little bit, but you can go to the next still frame. They are sponsoring They're sponsoring performance troupes that do traditional music, so they're keeping that alive, and they're also doing modern gospel music and choral classics like the Hallelujah Chorus. This is a college. Those are college students. They were going to a party. They're normal people. They're young, vibrant people. So the legacy of the missionaries is, I mean, it's brought up to date. You can see these are the future leaders of the country. And here's a picture of a graduation. Just think they will be carrying the work of the missionaries forward. The church became independent of all foreign control in 1963, together with the country. So all of these missionaries, there were over 200 families at any one time from mostly the Midwest Lutheran farm families that went there and served as teachers, doctors, pastors. And as soon as the country became independent, the Tanzanian Lutheran Church also was totally run by Black Africans, and they just celebrated in August their 60th anniversary as the Lutheran Church of Tanzania. I just picked this picture because there's a conference. It's a Lutheran conference. And the words below say, with readings and prayers, participants in the convention are discussing how to handle the challenges facing the country today as Christians and as citizens of the country. So I think you can say that Tanzania is exceptional, it's peaceful, and it's democratic. It's been inspired. We're going to end with these words that we started with. Oh, sorry. I'm crediting the Lutheran missionaries with a lot of positive input into that development over lives of service. June and Orville Nyblade, their son Andy, and their nephew Carl. Hey, okay. Now, as Alan read at the beginning, Nyerere, the first president, he was a very inspiring leader and still revered today. He paraphrased St. Francis, that we bring light where there is darkness, love where there is hatred. So he called upon his Christian education and made it in an African sense, and has been an inspiring leader there over the years. I think we've come to the end of our program. Carl, I wanted to get your thoughts about this. Can you come up?
So is this on? No. Is this on now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Carl Nyblade, and the connectedness with my uncle and his family was very long term. They came back once every year, every 4 years, and I always saw them at the annual Nyblade reunion in Michigan. He was a younger brother of my dad. My dad was the oldest of the family with 9 children. And so he always seemed other in my world.
Orville came back once every 4 years on furlough, and the Nyblades all got together. Orville was Carl's dad's younger brother, and those ones coming from Africa seemed other to Carl as he grew up.
And so I made an attempt after I got finished with college to go to Africa. My dad was very eager. He was retired from the Air Force. And we were working on that project when he came down with cancer and died before we had any chance to do that.
So they wanted to go to Tanzania but didn't get the chance.
And I last saw June and Orwell at my sister's funeral, which was 6-8 years ago now.
Yeah, I think you're understanding. Yeah. Yeah.
They were very gentle people and had devoted their lives to the service of others, and all under the umbrella of the Lutheran Church. My uncle baptized me. They also, his membership in his church in Michigan continued and supported their mission in Africa for a total of 62 years.
Yeah. So I'm really celebrating just my friendship with Carl, and that as soon as I got here to BUF the first time, we had this in common. I talked to his cousin Andy a lot. Andy sent us some of these pictures and sends us his best regards. And I invite you to look up more, ask me more, ask Carl more, and to recognize that in the course of history with colonialism and missionaries and churches and all of that, there's a lot of good to find in this story in Tanzania, which today is a beautiful, peaceful, optimistic, growing, positive country full of people that I love, and Carl does too. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask the Phoenix Ensemble to, oh, we have to take an offering, don't we? Yeah, okay. Jumping to the chase. Paul, yeah, the ushers come forward, please. And we're taking a regular offering today for BUF, and you can give it online as well. Thank you for your generosity as Andrea plays some beautiful African-inspired music.
Blessings be upon us all.
Bariki, wanabariki, sisi sote.
Let us take all that we have learned today about the dignity of people throughout the world of every tradition.
Tuchungue uzuri ya watu, ya wadadhi wote.
That we may learn and serve the spirit of freedom.
Kujifunza na kusaidia roho ya uhuru.
And let's stand and circle around now for freedom, knowing that we are joined in spirit with those of goodwill throughout the world. Let's make 2 concentric circles.